I know a lot of people have already been making videos about this. I'm a little bit late on the bandwagon for talking about the Hearthstone Tavern Pass, but I kind of wanted to make this video. It's going to be unpolished for sure, as more of my immediate response to kind of what I've been noticing is going on and what people are talking about on Reddit and from the development posts and kind of what my friends are talking about. In general, I think the thing that's going on with Hearthstone is that the Tavern Pass system was a breaking point for a lot of people in understanding that their time invested in the game, generally speaking, as free to play or budget players, has gone down to the point where the game does not feel like it is worth playing unless you are spending money. I don't necessarily want to say that's a bad thing, and I want to clarify this in the sense that I don't say this in defense of Blizzard. I think that the direction that they're going in monetizing Hearthstone as a card game more and more is not great for the player base, but you have to recognize from a business perspective, they've been doing the right thing for a while. I think one of the first things we could start to look at that they've been doing in terms of monetization of the game to kind of mitigate the effect of the casual player is the Battlegrounds perks. At first, the system was you got 30 packs open for the expansion and they gave you Battlegrounds perks. They started to realize very quickly some people came exclusively for Battlegrounds, some people liked the standard and wild system, and they realized that pack opening to kind of force them into the main game just to get Battlegrounds perks was not necessarily worth it. It wasn't very successful. So what they ended up doing was monetizing Battlegrounds perks completely on their own. That wasn't a bad thing. I think, brutally honest, if you think about it, they had to monetize the different portions of the game because there were different interest bases. Me as a player, I've played the standard version. I'm just starting to touch wild. Still do the tavern brawls every week. I still like to play arena, duels coming out, battlegrounds. I've been playing all of these different formats. I think that people are just looking at this card game as becoming a little too expensive. And I generally want to say I agree, but I need to make a very clear note. Card games are expensive to play relative to any other game. I could spend $60 and get Cyberpunk and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Those are two new games that come out, $60 each. If I want to get them both, that's $120. That's the same as my $130 Hearthstone pre-order that I spent to open a ton of packs. That video is on my YouTube channel. That should just be in a recommended view if you want to check that out. But when you think about it, that's $130 for a card game expansion set where I am paying for not all the cards of the set. I actually can't even really build all the fun decks that I want to because so many of them are legendary centric. But, you know, I could get 2 AAA titles and have a lot more value out of a game like that. I think immediately people just need to recognize card games are expensive. If you look at something like Magic the Gathering, like I have my Magic cards right here. These are just a few other cards that I've been looking at possibly selling, getting rid of, and playing, but ultimately these are all relatively expensive cards, and they're pretty staple. I mean, I don't want to get too much into Magic the Gathering because I know you guys don't really know a whole ton about it, but my commander deck, which is once again a more casual format, it's upwards of like $600, and that is one deck that I am playing. Sure, I can reuse the cards and move them around, but that is a single deck. And if you go into standard with having duplicate copies of specific cards, you'll have a single card print run $20, and in Magic you need 4 copies. Well, that's $80 down the drain for 4 out of your 60. That's pretty expensive. If you even, I've just started to look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Same type of thing. As a 3 of for like a very universally good trap card, you're spending probably something around like $20. And when you have a 3 of, that's $60 right there. And that is for one deck. So when you think about it, from how much money you're spending in a card game to what Hearthstone is giving you, it's actually not that bad if you really think about it, right? If I spent $300 on packs in Hearthstone, I feel like I could craft just about the entire set. I honestly might be a couple cards short, but I think with the amount of pity legendaries you could get, the epics, the golden cards that randomly hit, I think you could finish an entire expansion with 300 packs. I think, likewise, you might be able to finish a actual TCG like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, even Pokemon, except excluding secret rares and stuff, like for that kind of money. And that would roughly be like, what, 2.5 booster boxes or like 80 packs in an actual TCG? Little more than that. But if you think about it, the amount of money that you're spending in Hearthstone, if you are a person to spend money, I want to make that very clear because that actually changes a lot. If you spend money, the game is monetized pretty well compared to other card games. I brought up Battlegrounds perks because it's $20 and people were complaining it was $20 for strictly competitive advantage in Battlegrounds. If you play the game casually, you don't care that you don't have 2 extra heroes. It does feel bad the way that they put the little lock there. It's a good marketing tactic to get you to buy it. I don't think that's anything wrong. My issue comes from the fact that there are people who want to play a game like this competitively, and there is a strict paywall behind how well you can play competitively in a card game. And I think, honestly, in any other scenario, if I have to pay more money for a competitive advantage, it's a bad thing. I still am not a fan of it, but I think people need to recognize that is how card games work. You need to spend money to be competitive. I hate that that is the truth. It's a truth you have to accept. If you can get past that point, a lot of stuff starts to make more sense. And that's why I was saying you have to recognize Blizzard as a business entity. If you realize that Blizzard is monetizing things because they realize different player bases are going to pay money for different things, that's important because players need, they don't need, I should actually take a step back. Players want to spend money on things they feel incentivizes them to play the game. I know I'm going to spend money on Hearthstone. I bought the pre-orders because that's the cheapest the packs are ever going to come, at $1 per pack. N'Zoth was a good bonus. The tavern tickets were nice. The Battlegrounds perks were good. A lot of value chucked into that initial $85 pre-order. The average person, however, does not spend that kind of money on Hearthstone. And I don't want to say Blizzard is neglecting that casual free-to-play player base, but they are trying to push the game in a direction where monetization is almost necessary. That's not a bad thing, though. It's really not. And my reason behind that is people need to recognize if a game is too expensive for you to play, you don't play it. And I hate that truth kind of needs to come out, but the reality of the situation is if the hobby becomes too expensive, people don't do it, right? I mean, it's an extreme example I brought up to my friends, but like, not everyone owns a yacht and can go boating with their friends when they want. People do, and people have the money to do so. I don't. I'm going to imagine the average person doesn't. So the average person's hobby isn't yachting, right? And now when we take a step back and we apply it to card games, well, sure, it's fun. It's a leisure activity. I enjoy it. Card games are expensive. And if people are not willing to accept that their hobby is expensive, then I don't want to say you shouldn't be complaining about it, but I think people need to take a step back and recognize you are paying a business for a product of entertainment that people are going to do this time and time again. Like, you are going to come back, you are going to spend money, you are going to do X, Y, Z, and give Blizzard money. That's not bad. I say that's not bad because other companies and stuff, and this might just be my background, right? I play gacha games, or gachapon games. I've touched a couple, haven't really played a ton. The monetization in those games is amazing with how much people will spend. With the new game Genshin Impact coming out, the rates are astronomically low. And I not in a bad way, like astronomically low. I mean, they're significantly lower than other gacha games where people are shelling out almost up to like $100 to get their pity 5-star unit. Like they're one, like $100 for one. That could just be a brand new character. That could just be a weapon. There's so much money you could spend. And I personally feel like that's a lot of money to spend, right? Other people who are content creators, however, though, I've watched videos of people who are spending 4-digit range of money to try and just pull a new character and max out their stats. So it's not like they're saying gacha games aren't meant for the free-to-play player. They give the free-to-play players options, but they're trying to target where their money is going to come from. And they know especially in gacha games, you know, a whale's gonna spend money, a free-to-play player isn't. So is it bad to neglect the free-to-play player base? Yes, because that's where your audience and your traffic's gonna come in. But from the higher up perspective, the people who spend money are gonna keep spending money. And with Hearthstone, that kind of falls into the same thing, right? Content creators for Hearthstone, I don't want to treat myself as one. I'm just starting to do it, but I don't want to call myself a content creator. Salem has a phenomenal video. Regis did another video talking about the Battle Pass. They're way bigger than me. I'd love to link them and feel like I'm giving them a view, but you guys have probably seen it if you're at my channel. And they essentially just talked about their issue with the Battle Pass of rewards not being enough. And I think this is where the big frustration comes from. Blizzard said they were giving a new system to progress us with more rewards than the original, and that is strictly not true. Now, people have been doing the math on Reddit. I'm not going to run the numbers and try and shove these down your throat because you can find that online. I'm really not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about is what I feel Hearthstone and Blizzard needs to do, or I think they should do, as a recommended step for what can be improved about the Tavern Pass, and what I think is a proper solution to making Hearthstone a more accessible game for the casual player base. Whaling in Hearthstone is very apparent. You're going to spend money. You're going to get an advantage from cards. Battleground, same thing. There's a strict advantage of picking from more heroes for the Battlegrounds perks. But I think the Tavern Pass, in my experience so far, the first 15 levels I flew through. And I mean flew. Like, I got that done in a few hours. And now in the last week of playing, I've gone up maybe 5-6 levels. And that's completing all the weeklies and stuff. No, like 7 levels, I think. But that amount of work that I'm doing to move up the Battle Pass is not bad. The issue is the incentives to just play the game, to just enjoy the game, are not there. They're truthfully not. A comparison I wanted to bring up for the Battle Pass system was Apex Legends. I play Apex in my free time, and recently they've reformatted the Battle Pass system to include stars rather than experience. So it's collective sums of XP, and the dailies and weeklies got reset to a star-based system. What ended up happening with the first few days of the expansion was it was just so difficult to climb up in the Battle Pass. It felt not worth it at all to play and grind out those challenges. You just got nothing for it. And the developers were, like, the community outlash, the developers were quick to jump on it. They admitted it was their fault. And this is something that I think Blizzard did not recognize in their apology statement, but it's something to note, is I don't think with Blizzard having a new system for XP, I don't think they were playtesting how quickly you can level up in the latter stages of the Battle Pass. Because usually they reset or they play on fresh accounts, and more often than not, at least that's what Apex was doing, right? They were saying they play on fresh accounts, they reset the account's progress, so they'll get to Battle Pass level like 3 or 4, and then they're like, okay, yeah, we can move up, but in the grand scheme of things, they whiffed on the big picture of how long it takes to level up. And I think Hearthstone, I don't want to say this could be the case, but I want to kind of be an optimist here and say possibly what happened is no one really took into perspective how difficult it is to progress the Tavern Pass. And that is because if you are not exactly doing your dailies or your weeklies, or even farming the achievements, honestly, those, if you think about it, the relative amount of experience you're getting from playing the game, being in-game, is very small. And it's frustrating because in other games that I play that have a Battle Pass system, just playing the game gets you more progress, significantly more progress than what Hearthstone's Tavern Pass is doing. And this is going to segue into what I think the solutions are for the Tavern Pass, because like I said, people are going to rant, people are going to do whatever they want. This is part, I think, people's frustration from monetization of Hearthstone. It's the frustration of the Tavern Pass not working out for them. So here's my opinion of some changes we could make to Hearthstone. First and foremost, for the Tavern Pass, if this is a system they're going to keep, give more rewards for people to play the game outside of their dailies and weeklies. Genshin Impact, I did try the game out a little bit. their battle pass had a daily, weekly, and seasonal challenges to complete. Hearthstone is doing the same thing. You have dailies, you have weeklies, and I assume the seasonal is going to be the achievements, because the achievements related to Madness at the Dark Moon Fair give you XP towards your battle pass, whereas achievements not related specifically to Madness at the Dark Moon Fair are not giving you XP. So I think giving people bigger goals to work for, and not just an achievement for 200, 300 XP here and there. I'm talking like throughout the whole season, play 100 games of Standard or Wild and give people like 10,000 XP, like 2 or 3 levels, right? There's something. We just need incentives for people to play the game, because after I ran my dailies and weeklies, I'm hyped for the new expansion. I'm still playing it, but we're not doing a whole lot, right? And that just becomes my frustration, is I feel like the game is just not doing a good enough of a job to incentivize me to continue playing. I think a good approach could also be just increase the XP you're getting for being in game. I think it's really weird to go off of a timer system, because I've heard issues of people that are botting and just roping their accounts to level up the battle pass, which is pretty unfortunate, but I can't think of a better system, to be brutally honest. I think the in-game time is fine, possibly some combination of damage dealt, turns taken, cards played, you know, like if you could do some algorithm to figure that out and chuck that all into an XP based system that rewards players significantly more, I think that's better. And I say this like, you know, when I'm playing Apex Legends, if I have a good game, like 2 games of Apex when I play it, equates to an easy daily for me to accomplish. Do I think that in that case that can translate to Hearthstone? Not necessarily, because, you know, in Apex we're getting like 5-6 dailies, same with like the Fortnite Battle Pass, Genshin, etc. But Hearthstone, we're only rolling 1 daily, right? So we either need to give a bigger incentive for the dailies, or a much better incentive to just play the game as a whole, and the weeklies as well. I think another issue is the battle pass experience as you move up in levels scales with how much XP you need to earn to move up that level, which it makes sense. Like I said, it makes sense, because at the end of the day, you have like at the latter half 200, 300 gold rewards for leveling up once. So, and like I said, this is math that I haven't done yet, but probably between 2 of those levels, if you average out the numbers, the XP per gold, so you could buy a pack, like that kind of ratio is probably still justified. But once again, the Tavern Pass being monetized to buy an XP boost up to 40% eventually, I think that starts at level 35, I think you get 40% EXP boost. That's significant. That's significant enough where I think people are going to want to spend money to get an XP boost to force their dailies to be a little bit better. So I think first and foremost, make the game more rewarding to play. Give players XP, give players better dailies and weeklies, not just the achievements. Give people something to want to log into the game. Even if it's something as strange as, like, you know, make the dailies easier to do, give everyone 3 dailies every day and give us less XP for it. If, like, you know, my daily right now with the XP boost I'm at, I'm like level 22 in the battle pass right now. I think my daily on the low end is like 980 XP, or like roughly 1,000, right? I honestly, even something as simple as like, give us 3 dailies and let it be 500 to 750 XP each. This way I have an incentive to log in every day. I'll play the game. I'm going to progress faster. If in the old system, and this was something else someone brought up, right? In the old system, you would re-roll your quests. You would end up getting about a 60 gold quest on average. 60 gold quest plus 12 ranked wins or standard wins or battlegrounds wins. So you have like 24 games. I'm saying that with a 50% win rate, you'll win 12, lose 12. That's 40 gold from the 10 gold per 3 wins plus the 60 gold in the daily. You could get a pack a day. In the new system, outside of your daily, you have to grind an absurd amount of time to hit the next level threshold. And I'm in the middle of the battle pass where roughly every level is going to equate to a pack. That doesn't feel good compared to the old system. And once again, this was the complaint that people are not getting the same amount of rewards they were getting before. And if that's the case, and they said they were going to give us better rewards, we need to revamp the system. I think to now segue a little bit into, this is now outside of the Tavern Path. This is the monetization of Hearthstone and what I think could be a good idea for it. Make it easier or better to give players the choice for the cards they can make. The dust system is all right. I don't think there's an issue with that, but I think someone else, I think it was in Salem's video that he was talking about it. The average Hearthstone player, and I didn't really know this, I guess I'm an exception for it, they really prioritize a couple classes, like 1 to 3. I didn't really think about it, but like my friend Kelvo, he plays Shaman, like strictly Shaman. This man is a Shaman god. I kind of like to try and play a little bit of everything. And I think that might be a detriment on my end because, yeah, I can't build the best decks for every class, but I don't find that as big of an issue. But I think the average player, you know, I have to look from the average player's perspective. They're definitely not going to have all the cards to play multiple decks because I'm spending upwards of $100 in the beginning of an expansion, and I can't do that. So I think we need to give a better way for people to build the deck that they want. In Hearthstone, as a collectible card game that is competitive, the reason that you can only get cards, or because you can only get cards from packs, I think the system is slightly flawed. Because in Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, if you're playing the IRL TCG, I can go on tcgplayer.com, buy my 60 card deck, spend the money to just get the cards exactly that I want, and they'll end up coming in my mail. Imagine if you had to play IRL card games by never being able to buy singles, and you just had to keep ripping open packs until you build your entire deck. Obviously, it's a little bit different because the duplicate number goes up, so it's going to be even harder to pull all that. My point being, Hearthstone doesn't give a great way to make the cards that we want. The dust system exists, but it's so expensive to just make the cards that you want, especially when you're grinding from that free-to-play perspective, right? If I pull a legendary, let's just say I'm like Kovo, I'm a Shaman player, I'm free to play. I just want to make my Shaman deck. And in the new expansion, they just gave me Lefraxian redeemed. I don't play Paladin. I don't know what to do with this legendary I'm not going to touch. And part of me wants to dust it, but then I have to pull 4 legendaries to make one legendary that I really want. That doesn't feel good from the casual player because they don't play the game with the intention of collecting the whole set, which are some of the achievements. They don't play the entire game with the intent of starting to expand into multiple decks, though they could. That's behind a paywall. And ultimately, they need a better way to let players choose what they want to play, and more so, a better system to implement that. I think Magic the Gathering Arena has a great start with a wildcard system, so I don't think this is something Hearthstone needs to do, because ultimately I think it's, one, obviously, once again, this just boils down to, I am proposing things that's going to make the community happier and make Blizzard lose money. That is something that I am saying outright because people are going to, I hope, you know, if you enjoy what I've been saying and you've made it this far, I'd appreciate a like in the video. If you can comment below what you think, I'd be happy to hear from you guys, really. That no one on the development side of Blizzard wants to hear, here's the changes we need to make because we're losing money because people don't want to play our game anymore, right? That's a problem. The problem immediately is we are not making the same amount of money we were because the way we're monetizing it is incorrect. And if we try to give better options for the free-to-play player base, we are also giving better options for the competitive player base, or the whales of Hearthstone, and they're also, once again, just going to lose money. So from the community perspective, I think a wildcard system would be phenomenal. I don't think you can do it for everything, but I think legendaries are probably a decent start. With legendaries becoming more and more powerful and ever so niche in certain cases, building decks around core legendaries is a little bit harder and harder because you just need legendaries for every single deck you're going to play. And once again, that's true in every card game. The GX cards from Pokemon, the mythic rares in Magic, they make their way into a deck. And you need to make sure that when you create a system to give players better incentive to build certain cards, you do it in the sense that you're giving the player more control in what they're going to play. I've know some people who literally didn't want to play an expansion because they didn't roll the good free legendary in their first 10 packs, the legendary from the pre-order, if they ended up pre-ordering or whatever. Like, and when you get cards you don't want, it's extremely, I don't want to say punishing is the right term, but it's brutal to try and just build the deck that you want. So, you know, for legendaries being so critical for a deck, turn down the dust cost for it. That was a proposal Salem had, and I think that's very smart. The other option I think could work is if you ever pull a legendary, give them a wild card. Give them a golden wild card for that matter. So if you want to play the deck you want to play and you want to pimp out the deck you want by, you know, upgrading your, I don't know, any card that you could think of, like my plot twist. I like playing Warlock. Let me get a golden plot twist now because I want to make my deck look flashier. People would like that. I know people would like having their deck be better the way that they'd want it. But once again, if the rate stays the same and people just build what they want, they're less incentivized to spend money because now they don't need to spend as much money to get to that end goal of where they want to be, which is they've built a few decks they really like and they're just going to play that out. As someone who's going to collect everything, ultimately I don't think that matters for me, but that's just my proposal for the casual player base is give them more control over what they're going to open. That way monetization of the game is not as strong of an effect, because I think the casual player base doesn't spend much money on packs. But if you make it easier for someone to pick up the game, spend $20, $30 and now have a competitive deck, obviously that's a very small number if you think about it in the grand scheme of card games, how much it could cost for a competitive deck. That's pretty good. And that I think should clearly incentivize people to start playing the game. This rant went on a lot longer than I thought it did. I didn't realize a lot of points. I probably just started repeating and whatever. I'm just going to conclude my stuff there. Like I said, the math is there on Reddit. People are saying their things on Reddit. I'm just kind of proposing my solutions, what my opinion is for the problem that I feel is a problem. And ultimately, a takeaway that people need to recognize: Blizzard's a company. They need to make money. If they monetize something and people buy it, they're doing the right thing, right? And I'm saying they're doing the right thing from a business perspective. If you treat it of understanding it from a business perspective, Blizzard's doing fine. And us as a player base speaking up about it and letting them know, hey, we're not happy with the changes that you're making, they're listening. And like I said, I think the new change they're doing is replacing the 6 packs towards the end of the system with like 1,350 gold split around. So roughly we're getting 750 gold worth of more rewards. Like even Salem said, like, yes, good start. We're getting in the right direction by speaking up about it, but I think people need to realize they are still a business. They still need to make money, and us screaming and shouting about making the game more free-to-play friendly or casual friendly for not spending as much money, while yes, it is true that if people are spending in the $20, $30 range and it's just becoming more expensive, they might quit. People like me, other content creators, and my friends who are going to pre-order and dish close to $100 right away, they're getting our money anyways. So that's my rant. I don't want to keep it going on too longer. I hope you guys did appreciate the video. I understand I'm going to run it for a while. I'm not going to do any editing. I'm just going to put some music on and have this going on. If you guys did enjoy it, please leave a like. If you didn't agree with anything I did say, please leave it in the comments below. I've heard a lot of different perspectives. I see people ranting about things from Blizzard and they just start going off on other tangents that I think I really just want to focus on what a lot of people are addressing specifically with Hearthstone right now and Blizzard as a whole. I do stream on Twitch. If you guys are interested, I am playing some of the new Madness at the Dark Moon Fair stuff. I am trying out a couple new fun decks, trying to climb in Standard. That'll be linked in the description below. Additionally, I do have a Discord. It's a lot of my friends and other people from the community. If you do want to hop in, chit chat, and say hi, that will also be linked in the description below. I don't think we're going to be talking a whole lot about the Battle Pass. I think my opinion's kind of stuck here, and I'd like to leave it to YouTube comments because I know it's a little bit more divisive. I know a lot of people are frustrated, but if I say in behalf of defense of Blizzard, they are a business that needs to make money, people are probably not going to like that I'm saying that. I don't want to say it as an extremely divisive, like, you know, look at me, I know what I'm doing, but that's just my take of it. I think Blizzard's fine in the sense that they're making a monetized way to play the game. And ultimately, like I was saying, for a paywall for a card game, justified. In any other sense, I don't think it's right. Card games are an exception to that type of format. We need to spend money to stay competitively viable. That's that. Hope you're listening. I hope the community gets a little bit better feedback and we can ultimately take away from that a little bit better. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll figure out what I'm going to upload next time. Until then, take care.